In Maasai culture, warriors once hunted lions to protect their people. But today, the lion has taken a new form. Climate change is a new lion. And the young voices are its new warriors.
Coming from the Maasai community, being on the front line of the climate crisis, the New Land Project seeks to amplify the voices of unheard from the community, whereby we need to push for them to be involved in decision-making pools and also policy.
I run an organization called Tembea Make an Impact that focuses on environmental advocacy, community empowerment, and inspire youths to be at the forefront of making positive impacts in their communities.
Being a nature guide is a role where to link up the people and nature and environment. So I always make sure I respect their wildlife habitat, their space, and their behavior.
It's really better for us to start a cultural village that will be able to have young people and women coming up together, sharing their culture with the whole world. At the same time, we are proud as Maasai. We have never been shy in terms of sharing our culture with the whole world. So it is an inspiration for us, the young graduate from the university also coming back and also trying to show the whole world that now it's really concerned for us to go back to nature and at the same time trying to conserve the culture.
The Maasai struggle is a microcosm of the global fight for climate justice. Their stories resonate with communities worldwide, inspiring a collective effort to protect our planet and its people. Our knowledge, passed down through generations, is our strongest weapon in the fight for our planet.
Ne nil dualan ni bungi ni bota nga dolo garu ni gar lo garak ore be kiar ni gi nyandurot ni gi merregalonye ni gi bonu nana ngare yogo ndo mono diawulu ni suagi yok na one da yok ni gi bonu na do ay ba jolo garu aga ga ndamana ranyi sharanyi sho
Our lands, our people, our future are at stake. The time for action is now. Join us in the fight for climate justice, because this lion cannot be defeated alone. The fight against climate change is not just a battle for survival. It's a fight for justice. The voices of the Maasai, often marginalized, are now speaking out, demanding respect and recognition for their rights and knowledge.
Their need for equitable and also inclusive climate policies that safeguard the rights and knowledge of indigenous people and also push for more representation of unheard voices into climate and policy tables so that we can really influence the global policy.
I call upon all government officials and policymakers to give priority to underrepresented youths to tables and listen to their opinions because they come from the community and be able to give them a chance to make decisions at decision-making tables.
Support the New Land Project. Together, we can defeat the greatest challenge of our time.
We gather here to speak, to remember, to question, to build. Just stories in the shade, truth in every tongue, and courage passed hand to hand. This is where the elders spoke. This is where the rebels whispered. This is where dreamers still return. It's the people's tree. From your hearts to the microphones on your devices, this is Chini ya Mti. Under the tree. All right, ladies and gentlemen, karibuni tena. Really happy to have you today. We are with Kilerai, whose film we've just watched on The New Lion. So maybe we begin from back in the day. Who is Kilerai? Karibu sana.
Yeah, asante sana. So Kilerai is a young Maasai man or a boy, maybe previously.
Are you still a boy? No.
Yeah,
Young
maybe
man.
in regards to our parents.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, he's a young climate and also environmental champion, and at the moment focusing much on policy from Lemek and also Naikara, parts of Narok, and the Koffi Annan change maker at the moment also, and went to Catholic University and studied finance, and yet to graduating this year. And
Wow.
yeah, so that's all about I can say about myself. Thank you.
Naigara Lemek, you were born and brought up, I assume, in that place, went to school. Where did
Yeah.
you start life?
Yeah, actually, it was a very fun life, I can say, because growing up Islamic, the life was more of connecting yourself with nature, with herding the cattle, and also the culture was the aspect that was really big as part of life. And yeah, there are also challenges going to school every now and then, long distance thing, the water insecurity issue, the also the aspect of knowing the drive that you really have in your life. So I think for me it was more of like aggressiveness, and also the aspect of me knowing that I really have to do this, and also I really want this in life. And also the education section was one of the biggest aspects that really helped me and also pushed me to where I am now, because yeah, we grew up knowing that school is one of the key things that we have to do. And then actually yeah, in basically I think school really helped us, because when I see myself at some point, be it not school, maybe I couldn't have maybe a rich platform, and also aspire and also amplify what I really doing now. So I think for me, I can say that life was more of education, nature, culture, community, aspiration, also challenges. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just say your life was a safari, because people come from all over the world to
Yeah,
Maasai Mara
yeah.
and Naigara and said Lemek are very close to where you come from. Yesterday is when I heard the word Lemek quite prominently, and I actually Googled and I saw that, there are women that really traverse all that regions to go and trade in Maasai Mara. Yeah. Which school did you go to in primary?
I went to many schools. Okay, I went to
Like me, I went to
primary.
5.
Okay, I went to Lemek. I was in Lemek for some times, and also I went to I think that school is not more of known. It was called Omusereji Primary School, and then I shifted to Kilgoris. I went to stay at my aunt's place, so I went to a place called Logorian. So I went to Ilkarian Primary for like a year. Then I finished up from that point. Then I went now to Kilgoris Boys High School, and then that's how things went up here.
And then you came to Nairobi for tertiary
Yeah, then I
education.
came to Nairobi for now the tertiary part of education. Yeah.
Finance. What led you to mathematics?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I loved math when I was in school, and also I used to love about Kibaki thing. When Kibaki was a leader, he really inspired me to get into finance, and also I used to love doing mathematics, and also I think I was quite convinced to do more of a conservancy in nature course. So because in my village, most of the people and even students who came to Nairobi to study, most of them were doing environment, conservancy courses related. So I almost shifted on the same aspect. But now I told my parents that I really want to do what I want to do. And, for Maasai parents, they always want you to do the same thing they want you to do. Fanya teaching, fanya engineering.
Tower policy. Guitar.
So for them, they love what they really love. So they think that you really want to do what they want to do. But I think for me, I chose a different way. So I loved finance, but when I came to Catholic University, I basically choose like economics and finance. That's what I'm. It doesn't have a section. It's just economics and finance. The entire. There's no like specialization to. Maybe you can do maybe accounting like a BCom student. So I literally did economics and finance literally up to the end of it. Yeah.
Amazing. So you completed, no, you've not yet completed because graduation is not yet at hand.
Yeah,
But
I didn't graduated. Most people think I graduated. I don't know why. Most people think I'm done with school. I don't.
you know, it's
Yeah,
people's
because-
dreams to say you've crossed the waters and you're still in school, one.
Yeah, I'm still in school, but I finished last year. Actually, I finished last year, and it happened that when people were graduating, I wasn't around. So, and I told my parents that I had to graduate online. And you know, most of my parents, they they think that you haven't been in school.
And now you're in Niseketa.
So I told them that if you guys don't want me to graduate online, so I have to push to 2025 next year. So yeah, so I told them, yeah.
How did you end up with Koffi Annan?
Yeah, with Koffi Annan, I think I applied Koffi Annan 2024 last year, January, 2023 actually, and then they usually have like a cohort of change makers that they select every year. So I applied that time, and I don't know, it happened that they selected me out of 1,000 change makers who applied.
Wow.
And the reason being is that my presence was really good, especially on social media, and also my engagements globally, and also what I did in pitching my project with them, and also try to see how my voice can be amplified maybe with them. And yeah, it happened that I was selected among the 14 because they usually select 14 change makers, and I started my journey with them. It has been an amazing journey up to the moment I'm with them, also learning about the Koffi Annan ways, ethical leadership, how the Koffi Annan ruled during his time in UN. And it really inspired me because when I joined the Koffi Annan Changemakers, I felt a different person going there, learning the multilateralism and also the UN processes, and having been going to conferences even before I went to Koffi Annan program. So I've been engaging in UN. So I never knew the founders and also the fathers. You know, Koffi Annan is like the fathers of UN because most of the things UN is now evolving around it. Like now the UN Human Rights Council, the Charter, almost all of the things that UN are evolving now were initiated during his time, and also he was the one who was sitting down and also enacting those policies that are now grounded in UN. So, yeah, I think for me it has been a life-changing opportunity, and also I met a lot of young people from different parts of the world. I met the Koffi Annan team. I met people in Geneva where he used to work. Went to his home, and for me, I really believe that if I could reach this point, I have to believe in myself, and it was like a gear for me to also believe that I can do more than this, and also maybe at some days the world can also depend on me to also influence and also make change, like how Koffi Annan did, and also many other leaders who really impacted the world positively. Yeah.
He was Ghanaian. Koffi Annan.
Yeah, I was Ghanaian, and I think after campus, yeah, it was Ghanaian, and also I think he studied in Ghana in the University of Kumasi, if I'm not wrong. Then after that, now he went for graduate study at Geneva, and I think that's how he started now the diplomacy work. From there, now he was elevated. He joined the humanitarian action there in Geneva, and then he was also moved, I think, to AU to work for some times. Then after that, now I think, yeah, he was someone who really knew what he really wanted, because when we was studying about his ways, leadership ways, resilience, humility, inclusion,
Patience.
like he was someone who really had people in the heart, also the community in the heart.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
So from Niagara to Switzerland, Geneva. Many times we say Swaziland, it's Switzerland.
Yeah,
How did that
confuse
happen?
Switzerland
Was
and
Swaziland. So that transition, moving from Niagara to that place and just going through the entire fellowship, I would say, I think that's where I started seeing things to do with policy. Or where does the interest with policy come in? Does it tie to your educational background as well?
Yeah, okay, I think that's like a journey also, the policy part of action, because it started 2022, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, because for me, I was really passionate about environment and also nature in regards because of the background and also where I was born,
Yeah.
the connection. So when I joined campus, I started with the school club, joining the environmental club and also being the chair, chairing a lot of events at Catholic University.
Yeah.
So, and then also I also learned to participate in UN events, especially the UNEP here in Gigiri, Nairobi. So I used to attend most of the policy program oriented programs there. So from that moment now, I used to have a professor who used to be more of like a mentor to me. So we just met. He was from Italy. So whenever I had a meeting, he used to call me like, Isaiah, can you go for a meeting? And then he used to teach me a lot about policy, going through the papers, putting the inputs, knowing how to deliver, and also knowing how to also negotiate during in those rooms. So I think for me, it started long during my campus time. I used to go to COPs also. Yeah, I went to COP 28 in Dubai, where also I really engaged a lot, especially in terms of policy and also negotiation rooms. And I really participated well, and also other forums like now in also Lebanon, in Tanzania, Lagos, a lot of engagements. I really traveled during my time in campus, and I think for me, most of the long holidays I was just traveling, and then also I engagements and meetings regarding policy, and that's how my connection really became so strong. You know.
And people will think that you are privileged just to be, able to do these things. But I think these things, and I've seen a couple of young people who've done it. My sister, you probably know her, Dorcas Nashura, is also someone that I've seen. It's not a magical one that you have to, to fly. It's just about kujituma. I have seen this a lot with many young people being able to, achieve quite a lot and putting themselves in places where you deem ini watu wakubwa, ini watu special.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, but do you normally get things like, hey, huyu ni privileged, huyu? Or is it how or how do people perceive your being in those spaces?
People most of the time people tell me that uko na bahati sana, uko privileged, but if I go to the ground and also on the drawing board, you see that be it not your hard work and also your persistence and also resilience, you couldn't have been maybe where you are now. So I think for me, it has been more of like a belief and also the power that you really believe that you have a lot going on in yourself. So I think, it's just a matter of believing in yourself and also believing that you have the power to influence the policy, the decision-making pools also. So the drive also as a young person. So for me, I think that's one of the biggest thing, the power of believing in yourself and also pushing to the limit, because it's as a young person also, when you enter those rooms, when you want to do something, when you pitch your idea, when you tell people about maybe the challenge that you have, maybe you have a project you want to do, not everyone can really trust you and also maybe accept that you really want to do this thing. And
or even the capacity. It's not very easy for anyone to say, hey, let's trust this young man with this.
Yeah. And also the world is really crumbling in maybe accepting that young people have the power. And most of the time people have been struggling with this narrative of youth, we have power, we need to believe in youth. So it's kind of like a big thing that people have been pushing for. And also youth have been also in that triangle of them pushing for their representation in a way. And also on the other side, policies, government leaders aren't like giving them a lot of space to also believe in themselves. So for me, I feel like it's kind of like an offshore to maybe realize that no one will really push you as a young person. You have to get out of out of maybe 10, you have to be that single person who will be kind of different and also think differently among many people, and also try to see how am I going to be unique, and also what's the drive in me, and also the purpose that can really push me to where I'm supposed to be. Yeah.
Yani lazima ujitume.
Yeah, lazima ujitume na pia ujue ukwe strategic pia, and also know where to get in. Yeah.
You have to send yourself.
Yeah, sure.
And policies apply to us. For me, I struggle because I've also worked a little bit with the UN in different settings. And one thing that I came to realize, even as we talk with about policies and especially these big organizations, is knowing, that you truly value. That sometimes you find yourself in spaces representing the youth, but you really, 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 really don't feel like you are doing a justice to the role that you are playing. So hata ukijituma, lazima ukuwa unajua kwamba, your voice is there to represent and not just to rubber stamp. I don't know if you've heard that or I'm being toxic.
No, it happened. It happened at some point. Also, you feel like you're not getting enough to maybe be the person that you really want to be, or represent people that you really want to represent. And sometimes also you'll get like people that maybe you need them to maybe push you, to give you maybe a platform. Most of the time, if you put expectation maybe in front, you get disappointed that things are not maybe aligning the way you want. So I think also it happens, and especially maybe haujakuwa na makosa, maybe there's obstacles also. Sometimes you tend to maybe have a goal that you really want to achieve, but now the problem, maybe most people don't have the mentality that I have this goal I really want to achieve. I have this maybe I have this big thing I want to do, but now you haven't thought of maybe the obstacle part of it, the challenging part of it. Now, how are you going to maneuver on that? Because for you, it's really challenging, because at some point also spaces are not equal. There's a lot of inequality. There are a lot of maybe unjust. So at sometimes you meet with such kind of cases, and also you maybe you are a dreamer, you really want to change the world, but when you go there in policy rooms, you see people are dragging him in. They push negotiation to the next meeting. Maybe it happened next year, so you wonder why are we pushing these things
very
again?
Important thing. You're pushing it to next meeting, which is next year.
Why don't we just implement now and do, and people they have money? So sometimes it's really hard to. So the only thing maybe I really learned is that you just have to move with the wave, and also try to see what are you able to do, especially at the community level, because if you depend so much on the international thing, and also maybe top leaders, and maybe a good example, even politicians, if we depend on them maybe to do things that we really want to do, especially as change makers, at some point we get disappointed because the system is not aligned the way we really want to. It's aligned to be slow, to maybe also to make other depend on them, also even at sometimes even to make other people poor. What's happening in Africa? So the system is not the way we really think is working on.
We now come back and talk about policies. But I would encourage you who's watching, please leave a comment and share this video, that more people, this live broadcast, that more people can join. And you have a conversation with the phenomenal Isaiah Kilerai. Asante sana for joining us today. We'll take a short break. We gather here to speak, to remember, to question, to build. Just stories in the shade, truth in every tongue, and courage passed hand to hand. This is where the elders spoke. This is where the rebels whispered. This is where dreamers still return. It's the people's tree. From your hearts to the microphones on your devices, this is Chini ya Mti. Under the tree. And we are back with Isaiah Kilerai, talking about policies. We had promised that you're coming back and just discuss policies, and in an aspect of the differences that are here There's a policy, there is a law. We know the stage where there's a bill, there's an act. People confuse those terms. If you could just quickly break them down. And how does it work with international bodies?
Yeah, so I think for policy, it's kind of like a framework that guides people, and also it tells you how things should be done. So it's more of like a way. You have something. So how are you going to maybe do what you really want to do with the thing? So
like a
that's a
structure.
policy. But now for the law is kind of like a binding aspect of a guideline, so also a principle. So a law is like a must thing that has to be done, and also you have to follow how things are done. So, but for policy, it's kind of like you have to enact yourself and make things work according to the principle that you have really enacted. So for law, I think for law is just something that you have to meet, that has been implemented by someone else, or maybe the government, the officials, and yeah. But for policy, is now like a way that you have to follow for you to reach to that law that you really want to get things work on it. Yeah.
So that breaks down who does what, at what point, what are the results that are expected, what are the procedures, how do you handle accountability as well, is what I would suppose a policy guides on, yeah?
Yeah.
And you've been working and speaking about policies as well, in conservation, in climate change as well. You also talked about biodiversity, the areas within which you work in. Maybe if you could just break it down to us, where do you begin this, and what motivated you to start? At least the two, biodiversity, you talked about it, and you talked about climate change. And now we also know you're coming from the Mara, so we can't run away from the lions.
Yeah, sure. Okay, surprisingly, I've never been into conservation so much, and sometimes I meet a lot of people who are in conservation, and also I grew up, even my uncle used to be tour guide, and that's why even my passion really connected to wildlife and also conservation. I think my journey really started with loving nature and being connected to it. But for policy, it all started when I was engaging at different meetings, because I really understood that policy is one of the fundamental key aspects, especially in regards to everything that we're pushing to be done. And I felt when I was in policy room that it's one of the key things that I have to follow as a young person.
Yeah.
And also in policy rooms, you find that most of the time people don't even get in contact to, because of the tiresome part of it, a lot of processes. So I was so intrigued to know about this. I was so also excited about this, and also I really wanted to dig into it and also try to see why are we not engaging in policies as young people, especially from the global south. We just want to go and participate, and people really, of course, there's networking in events and also such kind of things. But now, what's about us getting involved and also understanding such kind of policies, because they also affect us as young people and also even the community at large. So for me, I think in terms of biodiversity, climate, and also environment, I've really engaged into policies, especially because I felt like it's one of the fundamental key in understanding the policy part of it, the regional, the community level. And the moment you understand the global part of it, you will now be able to connect why is it affecting us, and also why is it that we have this aspect of, and also a challenge that maybe influence the community in a way. So you can be able to know and also tackle a lot of challenges in the community and also amplify your voice in a way that you even understand where things are going. Because most of the time people ask me that how did you started, and how did you even reach out to this level, and also how did you able to maybe get into that room, just because I really understood about the policy aspect of it. And it's kind of like the principles of those meetings, and also how they're being done, and also how am I going also to quit at some point and also try to maybe reflect and also try another way. Because if you don't understand how these policies are being run and also maybe accessed in a way, you'll not be able to, maybe at some point you feel like you want things to be done the way you really think about, and also maybe you want drastic change at the moment.
Yeah.
Maybe you want at some point people really want funding, so you feel like why are we not even getting funding and do this project quickly and also get away with it and also maybe make change. So the moment you don't understand the way policy work, you will be frustrated at some point and also you get disappointed and also you feel like things are getting slow. But the moment I really understood about the policy thing, I felt I have a space and also I felt that where to come in and also I think that's what I can say about that.
Joel and Metaya say is connected, and I'm mentioning him because we were recently having a conversation about Ngorongoro, and he's been on this show a couple of times. We're discussing things revolving around, the boundaries within which we can operate, and the policy of the UN. Is it pro-government in whatever it does? How flexible is it? And how much wiggle room does it have within those countries? And I think, as you've said, sometimes you might get very frustrated that whatever you would like to do is sometimes quite slow, or sometimes it doesn't make sense, because it's like everyone says that this is the common sense that is reigning right now, but it's not working. It's not being applied. But those are big institutions for you. Now, policies on climate action. We are seeing different adaptations, especially with Maasai land, where there is a lot of land, and there are big swaths. So there's things like carbon credits coming up. We are seeing people trying to coordinate and reduce population, both of humans and livestock. We are seeing some other unfortunate ones like depopulation, by basically just migrating people from their indigenous homes. We are also seeing swaths of people, moving to big cities and also villages, expanding into more, I'd say, peri-urban areas. How do you handle that, as a young person? Do you have enough power to, put on the table something that's that's going to affect people on that magnitude?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think that's one of the difficult part of it. But as a young person, maybe connected to global policy at some point, and what I mean, like connected to the global policy at sometimes, I mean the engagements and also the knowing part of it. At some point, I think the least thing that we have been doing, especially in terms of pushing such kind of action, especially in regards to indigenous perspective, representation, the colonial aspect part of it, the reparations. So you find that at some point, policy also have to run on basis of petitions, on basis of pushing for maybe statements, pushing for different voices, especially in those rooms, reaching out to policymakers who really does that. So because I remember even especially for the TZ one, so I remember that time, was it COP28 that we were at COP28. So you find that as young people from Kenya, you have to mobilize people from Germany, people from UK, people from US. So you have to mobilize them and also share particularly what is happening in your country, and also maybe a neighboring country that has the same problem. So I think for me, what I've been doing, also the bare minimum as a young person that we have been doing, especially at a global perspective, is more of engaging yourself, the presence of you being there. What are you pushing? What are you doing? Maybe what are you drafting about the policy that, the action? What are you talking about? People affected in Tanzania, a good example. So I think it's more of like influencing, like pushing, making leaders accountable, like making them hearing your voice and also amplifying the voice as much as possible and pushing the masses. So I think for me, that has been one of the key thing, especially at the global perspective level. And now we have the rooms and also we have outside the room. So inside the rooms is now where you meet the policymakers, you meet different kinds of leaders, and that's now where you amplify and talk about that thing and also push the masses to talk about the thing, and also now it break down the policy that maybe has been enacted in those countries to maybe eradicate and also maybe influence human rights for the communities. And the other thing now is the making leaders accountable through the petitions, through the advocacy level part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even you remember even the issue of Ngorongoro, so most people had to file a lot of petitions about it, and also it has to go globally because at some point also policy it might be fighting over here in Kenya, and maybe the actual part of it has to be on the global perspective level. So if you don't really understand and also engage yourself with global people and also try to push with them and also try to tell them what's happening, because I remember even that time we had to mobilize people from I don't know Frankfurt, Germany, if I'm not wrong, from Dubai, from other countries. So the moment they really understand what's happening, and now they push this to maybe International Court of Justice, file a petition about what's happening. At that point now, you feel like there's something happening as a young person that can really be done. And then you feel like as a young person, you're really influencing, and also apart from not you being the head, not you being the president, because most of the time people really dream of making change. Maybe you becoming a president, you become maybe a UN Secretary General, but the moment you understand the way policy works and also how you may enter, how you may influence, that's how you understand that even you have the power as a young person, you have the power as a person itself, and also you have the power to make even global leaders accountable.
Yeah.
Just like what happened even at Gaza. You find that you're in Kenya, but you're influencing what is happening at Gaza. I remember it very well. So because you are signing petition, going online and also talking to them, engaging in Zoom meetings, engaging in meetings that relate with the thing. So at that point now you feel like my voice is really getting in. My voice is really being amplified and also it's working at some point. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of inclusion also. It really it works well with that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think there are frameworks. And Joel Olemitaya says, and I'm going to put it on the screen, he says, hi Kilerai, could you touch on carbon credit business, especially the FPIC process, how price is determined, is indigenous lands secured under this business? Is it something that you are able to talk about? Are you knowledgeable about those things?
Yeah, maybe I can just touch a bit about it. You know, carbon credits nowadays is very it's one of the critical thing, and I think it's becoming political because at sometimes I don't know whether you people have seen this thing happening at the moment. You find that even people from the Maasai community, we have people who are supporting carbon credits, and then we have people who are not supporting carbon credits. And then when you come at the global level in climate per se, most of the reports have been published that carbon credits are not working, especially the way people are expecting to work, like the framework and also the policy pathway that really has to be done with carbon credits are not working the same. I mean, the way even in regards to the Paris Agreement and climate in general. So most of the time I met with several people from Maasai, especially from the conservancy regions. So you find that most of the international organizations that are funding the carbon credits are going to some places and then they are doing maybe well, and then others are maybe exploiting communities. So you meet someone and people will tell you that are you against carbon credit or no? So most of the time you are in climate, you're going to answer such kind of a case. So I tell them, literally, I don't know what's happening. And then you meet another person, he will try to defend himself or herself in terms of carbon credits. He will tell you that it's working. We even have in our conservancy, you guys are not. And then people will even fight you because they will tell you that you people in climate are not even supporting what carbon credits is doing. So I think for me, the only thing I can say about carbon is that it's not working the way it's intended to be. And also it has a lot behind it, and also the frameworks and also the pricing. I think the universal aspect of the pricing aspect in carbon is not the same worldwide. You find that carbon price in UK and also in Kenya is not the same. So you find that in Africa it's more of like exploitative way because you find that maybe they will tell you maybe one carbon ton or I don't know megaton sort of thing. They will tell you that maybe it's how many shilling, which is if you try to see the mathematics not even working for the people. So that's now the problem with the with the community
Yeah.
and maybe the corporates that have the carbon thing. So
Yeah, because the question is, because people don't understand where this carbon credit comes from and why it's so important and why it's even there. Someone is paying you for keeping, for taking in carbon, or how does it work? What is carbon? What is this carbon credit? Because there's someone else who's asked a question called Oletei Mbekure, and I think before you answer, it's good to answer to read what he said. He said, in different areas, especially in East African countries, including Tanzania, which is my home, we do really have some nice policies, and some of them, especially in implementing, seems not participatory, which you've talked about. And of course, some have been made in a with very little stakeholders involvement. Stakeholders is a broad term in policies makers. So I think our government needs to be more proactive in participation making. So I think he was just adding to the point that you had already talked about. But back to the point on carbon credit still. You say that it's not equal, it's not, it's discriminatory, and it's good for us to understand, where does this thing come from? Hii pesa inatoka wapi?
yeah, okay. Originally, it's more of like a credit, tradable permit that allows the large companies and also large polluters to emit, and now on behalf of them emitting the emissions, so they have like to pay back to the communities that are on the front line, especially in Africa, most of them, because you find that Africa is responsible for 3% of global emission, but for the global south, you find like a country like USA and also maybe Russia or maybe Canada is almost like 50%. So most of the time, companies that are emitting most are on the global north, and the emissions affects the global south mostly. So this company, instead of them now being credited or maybe like a fine, so they have to come and do a project that will reciprocate with what they are emitting in the air. So that's now what we call the credit they have to pay back. So you find that in conservancy, most of the time they come and say, we want to do something like a project so that they can maybe compensate what they are emitting. So they come with different kinds of projects. But now the problem is that I think carbon should have been, the credit should have been maybe in a proper way when maybe they do in an intended way. But now the problem, I think, is the framework that they're doing, that they are
using,
putting in.
Yeah.
They involve a lot of scams. The schemes, which we have now, people being evicted, maybe the agreements that people sign, they don't, I think like they are taking advantage of the them emitting, or maybe them being given permission to come and do the projects. So now they make it so exploitative for the community. So you find that now, because I think carbon credits are two. We have those who are non-permittable, and also we have those who are government oriented.
Yeah.
And when they are government attached to, so it's very hard for you as a member of the community to maybe get out of them, especially when you sign any agreement in regards to that. So I think for me, it's just a framework that they're using. It's not like the way carbon credits should really work, because if you try to maybe go deep in science and try to see how carbon should work, it literally should benefit the most, should benefit like the most affected, literally. But now the problem is that now those who are affected are suffering the most again, because they are giving permission this company to come and maybe do the projects in regards to paying back. But now the problem is that instead of now them doing the intended thing that is supposed to be done, they increase the exploitative nature of it, and now they make you more of, it's kind of like a colonialism in a way, especially for the companies from the global north. So they make you suffer again, because now you've been on the front line of the global emissions and all that. So I think for me, it's just like a trap, and it's not working the way it should be done. I think that's what I can say mostly about carbon. Yeah, because if carbon was really working well, why should we have communities complaining about their land being taken away, them being exploited, them maybe being even abused in terms of human rights. So I think the moment we hear such kind of cases, we question a lot about that. And the only thing that comes in challenge is that whenever I meet people who are working, especially in conservancy area, they will try to challenge you that, of course, carbons can really work, but now the problem is how is it working, especially in Africa, in regards to communities and also the well-being of the most affected.
Communities. Yeah, it's interesting when you talk about it because I think for many people they don't see the relevance or the connection between kwa nini watu wanakuja kutupatia pesa, like you know, people don't know about emissions, they do not know about Russia or the US or the emissions that they're having. And I heard Omze saying that it's like someone throwing papers or throwing papers through the wall and then they pay you because they cannot pick the papers up, or you know, they just pay you so that you do not complain, or at least you can you know, be able to bear with the heap of papers that is coming to your area. And the thing is, we are all affected by this climate, but there are people who are definitely, you know, affected a lot. Initially, I heard that many people say, oh, we are the carbon sinks, so we are paying these people so that they can keep the lands bare, that they can absorb more carbon. I don't know. I haven't really delved into that. But if you could touch onto that before we move on to, you know, things like policy regarding that, you know, area.
Yeah, I think it's very challenging, especially now that we have a lot of people, especially in the same community, accepting that carbon is working. Especially if you really had a case of Kajiado, the other time we watched on Lengogi show whereby people are complaining about the same case, and I think we have a lot of people accepting that they have to be in that triangle, or maybe in that circle of carbon thing. And then we have others who are not accepting at all. And then in the meeting, I think if most of you watched the engagements, so it's more of like there was a certain part of the community which was accepting the thing, and then there was another side of the community which was against the policy in short terms. So I think for me is all about the understanding part of it, especially for companies and corporations who really want to maybe engage with the community, especially in terms of initiating projects that in regards to that. I think the first step is the prior consent, especially in terms of community engagement, for them to understand what are we really signing, what kind of an agreement are we really signing, because I think corporates and companies have really tried to use this to take lands, to grab the resources, because now, especially Africa, and especially now where Maasai people lived for a long time, they have been taking care of the land, especially a lot of resources. Most conservancies, rich wildlife protected areas are now remaining in Maasai's territories. So most of the time, they're now prone to carbon credit thing, because now
that's where the space
companies
is
are focusing on that area. Yeah. And I think they know that maybe most of the Maasai, they just want the money maybe at some point, and also they forget about what is happening. And people are now focusing on that thing. It's a scheme to maybe take away land, take away maybe things from the community and grab. So I think for me is more of like a change direction. Like it's not working the same way it's supposed to be done. It's just like me introducing something else, and then now I'm using the same scheme to maybe take something from you. So instead of me doing the thing that I'm supposed to be doing with the thing, I try to grab something out of you that maybe you don't know, and also you seem to be happy about it. So I think for me, it's all about them understanding that it's a plot that they are in, and also they have to take care of the land, and also they have to take care of their resources, and also they have to be so informed about it, because the companies and corporations, they are not doing what they are intended to do, especially in regards to carbon. I think the communities in Maasai especially, they have to really benefit about this, because it has to be like an opportunity for them to really benefit on this, because they really have a lot of resources. But now the problem is it's being used as an hidden agenda to grab what they really have. So
it's like giving you a carrot and then, you know, taking another bigger carrot from from you, because I feel
Yes.
like most of the time we have agendas that are under the table. And this is what frustrates me mostly with these big corporates or big organizations, because sometimes it feels like the agenda, we go with the name of the community, but really the agenda is for the organization itself. So how can we expand? How can we dominate? How can we, establish ourselves there? That how can we pride ourselves? So sometimes you sit in these meetings and you're like, what these guys, they always use the name of the community, but really when you think about it deeply, because it's very difficult for you to see these things if you haven't seen some of these injustices, it's very, very difficult for you to, just take in what people do in these situations. The problem is it's mostly in closed doors. It's only you who's been invited. It's only me who's been invited. So you go there and you're just wondering what is happening here. That's why most of the people just don't come out and speak about it. But there are people who've worked with the UN, and you can really, especially the older people, some of them really, really get mad at it, at them. And if, for example, you hear of someone like Dr. Mordecai Ogada, he speaks.
Mordecai.
He speaks very strongly about, especially conservation. My lecturer, Dr. Andy Anjoya, as well. But you can see us getting into these spaces, policies, and meaningful involvement and participation of youth. I know it's a frustrating thing, but how are you navigating those waters, especially in the climate space where there is some money? Where I have worked is mostly human rights, where there isn't as much money as I would say climate change. So there's little interest, though it was quite still, quite political inside there. How do you navigate those waters? You are a young person, you are in between money and, real change.
Yeah, okay. I can say that most of the time it's just a matter of lowering your expectation, especially at the global stage. You might meeting like big people, big organizations, a lot of interesting people around, and also you feel like this is now where the change comes from. And if you don't really understand like the system, the way it goes, at the beginning, I also even mentioned about that the system is not working the same way that maybe you expect about it, and also you think about it. So I think for me, I've been more into how am I going to understand about how things are working on this space? So I think for me, it has been more of like a soul-searching thing, the curiosity, because I felt at some point like I should be the change. Like I really want to do this. I want to make change in the community. And then at some points I feel like no. I think I'm not heading to a good direction. So I should go back and also try to cross-check what's happening, because there's a lot of inequality. There's no equity. Some policies even favors maybe global north or even other countries, and doesn't favor Africa at some point. And also some policies maybe favor even other communities and not even Maasai community. And at some points you may be in a situation whereby people really just want to you to be included just because of the name, just because of our representation. But when it's come to maybe a long-term benefit aspect of it, you can't be included in the same room. So because there have been even some challenges, especially last year, a lot of young people, we started with them in the policy and also advocacy space, and also in regards to climate and biodiversity. Most of them even were thinking of stepping and doing different things, and also try to even get employed and even start doing other things.
Because that's also a frustration that I've personally had over time, because
Frustration.
things move very slowly. Sometimes you feel like what people say is not what they're doing, and it's just very frustrating. And I think it just cuts across, especially with people having different agendas. They just want to rubber stamp some things sometimes, and you feel like mimi inaonekana huku tuna hakuna kitu nafanya, or sometimes you feel like things are taking such a slow turn, so you have to change tacts, or you just remain like that.
Yeah, so I think for me, it has been quite different, because the moment I noticed that I don't have to depend on the system in a way, so I shifted myself to more of like balancing the two. and I really understood the UN system, how it really works, and also how the things flows and how. Because if I couldn't have understood, I think I could have maybe left what I'm doing. Because most of the time, people tells me that you're going to UN conferences, you're going to UN. How people think that UN is so that kind. Okay, it's so fancy. Maybe if you look from the outside side of it. So if people think that big things are taking place there. There's a lot of maybe opportunities. There's a lot of things that are maybe being done there. But the moment you start discovering and also start getting engaged with them, you realize that a lot has to be done with self introspection, especially going back and try to see what am I going to do and also who is me at some point. So I think for me, I went back and I started balancing the two, joining the fellowship programs, connecting myself to the community, because at some point also it's very important to realize yourself as a leader and appreciating the most that you can do. Because if you go back to the community and do something with the small support that you have and even impact even 10 people, that's the most thing that you can do. But now the problem with people, they expect maybe 1,000 people to be impacted in one day or even maybe in a year. So the moment you start seeing things at that angle, that you have to start small, you have to do like the smallest part that you really have to do, because with the smaller capacity that you really have, because of the content that we are Kenya, with a lot of things happening, leadership, a lot of challenges. So I think for me it has been more of like the appreciation and also starting from where I am and also doing the least that I can do. Because if you really maybe expect the big system to do change, the big organization, the UN system, the presidents, and all of those, yeah, you can be really frustrated and you cannot be able to uh, walk again in the journey. Also, you can even lose your ambition. So I think for me, it has been more of like going back and off track and also try to see what am I going to maybe influence in my community, what part am I going to play as a young person, and where am I going to do? I mean, where am I going to go so that my voice can be amplified, and also who am I going to approach? Because at some points also, not everyone is really approachable. Not everyone is really maybe encouraging. So you really have to identify who is this person that is going to be in my journey. Who am I going to approach so that I can able to maybe move on? Yeah. So the moment you really filter your way, you can be able to walk, and also you can't be tired. You always be inspired every now and then. But the moment you be that person who is everywhere and also who expects everything to be done the same way that you really expect. And interestingly, um, the the way people think that things should be done, or the way you normally think that things should be done, it always get the opposite of what you're really doing. So that means you understand you will get to move always and also trust the process in regards to that. Yeah.
Very interesting. Sometimes you really get frustrated and you feel like, yes, why is it so easy? Why don't we do this thing? And then it just go mad.
Yeah.
Especially as a young person, I remember when I
Yeah.
started these campaigns, especially on FGM and child marriage. I just come straight from the journalism world. And at that point, I was quite passionate with, changing things, kwa nini mfanyi kitu. And at least for me, I was able to have conversations like this that would actually literally push people. And then when you get the senior people involved, like, for example, say the UN, UNFPA especially, and also UNICEF, because that was especially during COVID where we had people quite interested in these online platforms. I hosted some of the highest, people within the UNFPA in Kenya, also had some with the World Bank. And it was quite impactful because you speak to people, as you say, when you find yourself in spaces where you ordinarily would not find these people, then it's quite powerful, whatever you're going to be speaking or the questions you're going to be asking. And that one, it can, make a difference because then it's like, it's a consultation in public. But it's quite frustrating when you're there where there was this report the other day that said that most of the UN reports are hardly read. And it's just like,
I saw that.
Why? It's like we put a lot of money in this research. I've also been in spaces, just also sharing the frustrations that you can find yourself within these big organizations where these guys have a big research. You are using their data. And then when you get there, they start asking you, Jeremiah, what do we do? I'm like, why are you asking me what do we do? You guys should be the experts, you know. And you have the support. You literally have the mandate to work with government. You have to work with non-profit organizations within those specific aspects of operation. You have to work with policymakers, you know, from either government and you also have people who are doing, you know, data within the system. But sometimes it's quite baffling to see how these things operate. Anyways, we are not giving up here. And it's quite inspiring to see you, I would say, as a young person, still in school, still, you know, going for the highest of the highest. You are not a policymaker, I would say, by profession, because I would assume that, you know, this is the work that a legislator would do, or someone who's hired by the UN to write their policies as a consultant, or on a local level, that would be the work of, you know, MCS that have to cooperate with community-based organizations and NGOs to write those policies within which they can work through. But we are not giving up. Maybe a call to action as, you know, as we move on. Lembeo Paswa says, nafuatilia kutoka Ngorongoro. Good job, my brother. Jeremiah Kipainoi, asante sana. And he also says, powerful. Watu wetu huku walianza na maombi mlimani. That's also something that we have to delve into in these shows because of Ngorongoro as well, commemorating the other days.
Yeah.
Back to policies. Tutafanya nini kuendelea mbele? What's next for you?
Yeah. So I think one of the greatest challenge that I've been facing, and also I think most of the people who have been in policy, and especially young people, I think the representation part of it is really amazing and also is encouraging. So I think for now, I think I'm looking forward to being part of the leadership programs, and also because we have been fighting for this, especially as young people from the global south. You find that why are you always being there in terms of representation? You're being called for a meeting and then that meeting ends and then you go home. And then you're being called maybe for a conference and then that conference ends and then everything ends there. You're being called for maybe a summit and then you go there. So I've been in that circle, studying a lot about that and also try to think how sustainable is this going to be. So I think for me, the best thing as a young person and also anyone who is at policy level at the moment is to also try to seek a leadership position and also try to seek advice or try also be in those rooms also. Why are you not being in the leadership space? So as to also to improve the aspect of leadership transformation. Yeah, because I was also asking myself the same question the other day, like when are we going to participate? You know, people want just to attend these meetings, go every night and then. But for me, I feel like can you be the person who is there to be also facilitating, or also maybe to be driving what has to be driving that meeting, or maybe to be also driving funding to your community? Can you be that person who will be maybe also pushing for policy that maybe safeguard the rights and knowledge of maybe the Maasai community? So I think that's one of the biggest things to ask yourself as a young person. Like apart from maybe you understand the policy, you understand the aspect and how things are shaping, can you also be there? Because if you see at the global north, because I've really interacted with most of the young people from Germany, from Europe at large. So you find most of the time, you find someone at 23 or maybe 20, this person is working as an advisor, maybe at FAO, Food Organization, maybe the UN. And then also you find that most of them are being given such kind of posts that in Kenya, you can find maybe is an MP that has the post or even the governor. So at some point, going to that level really challenged me a lot, that we also need this post from Africa. We also need to be here. Like we also need to be push ourselves to this limit, that you also have to be in that position that we really influence what is happening and also changing our community. Because when are we stop maybe depending again on someone else to push things for us. Let us be there. Let us be those leaders who are also at a global perspective level so that we can also push things. And Kofi Annan really inspired me because when he went to Geneva, I really read about him and also learned about what he was doing. It just started from him being in Africa. He went there and he really pushed himself to be at the UN, to be the Secretary General. So what I can inspire young people, especially from the Maasai community and also at large, is that let's try to also think of us being those people who can really reshape our policy and also reshape change in our community and also try to also push what has to be happened, because it's really possible, because most of the time even those who went there from Africa, from even at a local perspective, not even at a global perspective,
Yeah.
can you be that MP that you really maybe wish to be things to be done the way you really want, apart from you going to be there to be pushed as a young person, as a youth? So can you able to even to stand as a MC in your area and also push things how they're supposed to be done? So I think for me that's the biggest challenge, because this narrative of youth being engaged in participation, vijana wakuwe hapa, vijana wafanye hivi, like you need to push yourself to be in that leadership position so that you can also influence and also push a certain policy that maybe safeguard the community at a certain level. So I think the biggest part is to get involved, because I remember Koffi Annan was telling people like, don't be a follower, be a leader.
I think it's easier said than done, because I'll tell you for sure, these spaces are also quite guarded, if you'd say. But I think what you're saying is quite true. Tunaweza kuwa wakubwa wadogo, in a way that we can be young but still be the leaders. The only thing, the dilemma that we have here is we are looking at people with long professions, PhD holders, who've been in the offices, who know people, who understand the system. But by the end of the day, with things especially, revolving around communities within which you come in, things involving the youth, I think there are things that we have to say, there's nothing for us without us. And it just cuts across simply, kama ni nyumbani, I think imefika mahali, now we're grown-ups, if you're truly involving me, involve me for real. If not, just tell me don't be in this space. And I think it's also a call, personally, I'm also very passionate about what you're talking about here. And this also cuts into policies, is you just do not say, and this is a word that I don't like, involvement. I don't want to be involved, I want me to be part of you, kabisa. Because you tell me you're bringing me to sit in the table within a group of 100, even say 200 people, they're sitting in one room and say we had dialogue. Dialogue with 200 people within 2 hours. I think that's not dialogue. So I think such things should be defined. And I think in this table say, okay, the policy here is if you're truly involving these people, you have to have, a way to bring in, technology that for the things that are going to be in terms of decision making, that everyone's input is hard. So even if it's saying, okay, use Google Docs, vote here, or draft a list of questions within which everyone has to answer. And I think that way we are able to involve people more. And also with the policies that we have here on the ground, people do not really understand. But I think it's very, very important. In 2017, I was very interested in the CIDP, County Integrated Development Plan. And at that point, it was hidden. It was hidden. I had to look for that document like I was looking for a miracle. And then when I came and found it, I realized this is actually a document that you can use to really hold people accountable. So from the MCAs who are supposed to oversee this work and implement some of the projects, to the office of the governor, from what legislations have been passed regarding, from the budgets that have been passed, from the projects that have been approved, all these things. I think if people know these things, you can hold these people accountable even without the legislators or the people who are supposed to hold them accountable. So I'm just saying these things, information is power, na lazima tuipiganie.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then also the other thing is that I think it's one of the key challenge that as Maasai, maybe I can talk about, because it's my community and also where I come from. So you find that most of the time people really aspire maybe to become politicians. Most of the time everyone is wanting to become that politician that maybe, I don't know, maybe it's our nature. We are so grounded into politics at some time, so we don't even think of maybe other things that maybe can really bring change in the community, and also maybe we cannot think of maybe other niches that maybe can really influence everything around us. So I think we should maybe think of maybe us being transformative in regards to maybe influencing the policies and also the politics in us. So at some point also it's very hard to maneuver, especially with cultural based leadership. We being told that as a young person you don't have to lead because you come from this clan, you have from this. So what about if I don't have come from this clan? So sometimes also I feel like it's really discouraging other young people from maybe arising, especially in terms of political aspiration. So I think as a strategy and also as an inspiration for young people is to also try to think of them being leaders at certain ways and also with different synergies and also approaches, because I think most people think that I think politics is more of like people think that maybe because it has money, people really want money. But if you really maybe aspire to bring change in the community, I think the political aspect out of it doesn't have to be like a public for you. Like there are many ways to you being a leader. Most of the time, people ask me that, do you want to join politics? I tell them I'm not even thinking about politics in my head. I don't even have politics in my head. I'm just doing what I'm passionate about. I'm just doing what I'm really up to, and I think it's high time for us to think that to also think at that angle of us becoming leaders, not only because we want to be politicians. Yeah, the least that we can really do is the most that the world really require for you, and also the most that the world really, I mean, the community really needs from you. Yeah.
Amazing. We'd like to bring this to a close. And I think us talking about policies, what is policy, the frameworks that we are involved in planning whatever change you want to bring to our communities, it's so important. Also with the journey that you've had, the inspiring one, as a young person, also finding yourself in spaces that are not easy to come by, and doing all you can, understanding the place, and then I think with time, then you'll be able to know, also how to navigate the waters that are there. But I think every step that we take and all the questions that we have within ourselves, whether we are capable or not, I think those should be put in in a lab, a litmus test that you can find out once you sit on that round table.
Sure.
Final words from you.
Yeah. Okay. I can just say that as a young person or maybe as a community, we really have to aspire to get information as the first thing, key thing, because the moment we get information, we also have to get the opportunities, and also you'll get to know how the world is evolving, also how the world is moving around, because most of the time we think that the world is just evolving within us, but in reality, the world is really moving fast, and also the world is really perverse in a way. So I think the most urgent thing that we really have as young people at this generation is the